Welcome back to Singularity Watch, a show where we observe the upcoming technologies of the future and figure out how best to prepare for them and what risks and rewards they may hold. I'm Ollie, and as always, my co-host is the award-winning cybersecurity professional Kavya Perlman, founder of the XR Safety Initiative, XRSI. Kavya, hello.
Hi, Ollie. Hello, everyone.
Now, as you know, this is the second part of a long and inspiring conversation with one of the most influential visionaries in the industry. A person who witnessed Siri being created in his son's bedroom and jumped on the first Tesla with Elon Musk.
We're talking about and with Robert Scoble, the user number one in the Valley and the Forrest Gump of the tech industry as defined by himself in the last episode.
Before we teleport into the interview, just a quick reminder to anyone following us. If you like what you're hearing, then please consider leaving us a like and maybe even a share. And we're really interested to hear any considerations you had while you were watching, so feel free to leave a comment.
All right, Ollie. I'm ready to jump in. See you in a while. I don't think that only you and I care about privacy, or I know that you don't care in that same sense. You care about the impact that it will have on humanity, or the impact it will have on your children, and how your world would change. I care about, how can we stay ahead of these negative consequences? But I would say people do care about privacy once they become aware of it. I mean, we saw that go down with WhatsApp to Signal. And as soon as people of India were aware, millions of people just jumped off. I could explain to my dad that, even though he doesn't speak in English, I'm like, Dad, this is what it means. And he was in the hospital at that time. And I'm like, please try to download and do this. And I think over time, this is what trust is going to mean and matter is people.
We will move to things. We will move to things that are more trustworthy, right? And I like using the word trust because even Apple knows this product category that's coming with dozen cameras on your face, possibly. Mm-hmm. And Apple, we should talk about cameras because cameras on this Oculus Quest, there's 4 black and white cameras right seeing my room around me, right? Today, that data isn't being used by a lot of things. Tomorrow, or let's say by 2025, you're going to have very high resolution color cameras on your face with a lot of neural network processing. And the computer vision stuff that I'm seeing is stunning. And now we can talk about Tesla, because Tesla is a great example of that. When my Tesla goes down the street, it sees garbage cans on the street. It sees stop signs, stoplights, kids, dogs, bicyclists, right? That's all done by computer vision. And it shows how much the world of technology has changed in just a few years.
So this data collection, processing, it's becoming easier and more effective. The question that I have for you is, what's Tesla going to do with all this data and its cars they collect every day around the world? What's coming for us?
I own a Tesla Model 3, and there's a camera inside the car aimed at my face, right? So that's very freaky, and that's where I was going with freaky product. Mm-hmm. Apple and Tesla knows that this technology is extraordinarily freaky to at least a third of the people, right? 2/3 are like me, fuck it, turn it on, let it work. I don't care. I really don't care that it's watching me. I don't care that Siri is sitting there listening to me right now and trying to do stuff. I don't care that I have Facebook portals. I have 3 Facebook portals in my house with cameras and microphones listening to me right now. Amazon Alexa is listening to me right now. So I got 4 different companies listening to me right now, and I'm studying all my private, conversations and everything. Now, that's not really true, but it could be true, right? So, where am I going with this? With Tesla, you have 8 cameras on the car. One is aimed at the passengers. The rest are aimed outside at the street and people. Now, it doesn't yet do anything freaky with that data, right? When I go by you in the street, it doesn't say Kavya is on the street. It just shows a human is on the street, right? And that doesn't infringe on anything you're doing. It doesn't cause problems. I could see in 20 years that it actually will say Kavya is on the street, right? And that's the problem is there is a slippery slope argument that as technology advances and more cameras come along, I mean, NIO, a Chinese car company, is putting 8K cameras in their car. My Tesla has 4K cameras, right? So now you're starting to think about, oh, geez, what does it mean that I can go by Kavi's house and see if she's in the kitchen from the outside? This takes media law to a whole nother level. I mean, I was a journalism student at San Jose State, and one of the hardest classes was media law. And one of the things we talked a lot about was, what is your right to take a photo, right? What is your right to write something about somebody? Are you allowed to take a picture through their kitchen window and put that in the newspaper? There's a gray line there. Probably you are if you're from the street and you're not using a super long telephoto lens, right? And you didn't close your drapes, right?
Yeah.
If you're out in the public street, the rules change to be anything is available to you. I could use a long lens and take a picture of you in a public street and print that in the newspaper without your permission. And that's First Amendment right. That is going to be there for a long time. And that's what Tesla's using, right? Tesla is saying, oh, in the public street, we can take as many images as we want. And there's nothing really anybody can do about that because it's a public street. And the law is very clear about that. The question now is, what happens when you put 100 times more AI capabilities than we have in our Tesla with a camera that's 8 or 16K? Now it can see, instead of just seeing 100 meters in front of the car, 100 yards in front of the car, it can see 500 yards, right? And it can see a lot more detail about through windows and stuff like that. So now we really are starting to see, where is the gray area going, and how do we keep these companies from using that data against us in some way, or the government, right? Because the government is totally into using this technology. We saw that with the insurrection on the on the Capitol building. They were using a Clearview to take a photo off their security camera and then do matches to all the social media that stuff, right? And figure out who was actually in the Capitol building with AI. So the government is very willing to do that, right? And certainly the Chinese government is very willing to do that. So we start talking about differences. China is willing, Germany is not. There's differences regionally and differences in countries about their approaches to this. And America is sort of in the middle. We're skittish about privacy. On some side, we say, go for it, Facebook, study it, take it all. And on other sides, we're like, no, not so fast.
Yeah, it's also interesting what happens in the closed doors versus what is shown to the world. You know, you see these congressional hearings, but at the same time, here we have all these AI models being built in the closed doors and being baked in. All these things are coming out, and government sees this, but they're quiet. They're waiting for the next Cambridge Analytica, I suppose.
Well, I studied that for my last book. We should talk about Cambridge Analytica, because if you study politics the way I have for the last 20 years, I've walked around Greensboro, North Carolina with a senator, and we were doing this right before an election, and he had a list of addresses to go and visit. Right? He only visited likely Democratic voters who needed to be reminded to go and vote. Right? We didn't go and visit Republican houses, and we didn't visit people who never vote. We visited people who are likely to go and vote and remind them to, hey, tomorrow's the day, go. And I'm Senator Bob. Right? That was done in a database 15 years ago. It just was expensive to do, and it was slow to do. Today, I can do basically the same thing on Facebook with Facebook advertising and target you so minutely that I can go, hey, I want to only talk to French people in Silicon Valley, right? And get them to vote because I know they all vote for me, right? So the Cambridge Analytica basically was doing that in a smarmy way, a way they were using academic data to try to get this targeting system to work. And that's going to look really quaint soon, I think. The data that we have now on each other, the systems are going to have in 5 or 10 years, is going to be stunning compared to what we have today. And that was I think that's why you're having me on the show, because I'm now saying this is the time when humanity has to stop and say, are we going forward or not? I think everybody's going to go forward and buy a VR machine from Apple or Facebook or Google or Huawei or whoever, because it's so obvious to us that this is how computing is going to be done, right? But that comes with a whole new level of data about us. Here's a question for you that I've been asking people. How long will it take you to wear an AR pair of glasses? Screw that. What if Apple came out with a headphone that had the AR computer and a LiDAR and a camera on it? Not even a screen, not even a camera, just a LiDAR. How long would it take to scan your entire house with a good percentage of your drawers open, your refrigerator open, your closet door open, your garage? How long do you think it would take to scan most of your house?
Well, first of all, I'm not scanning my house.
Yes, you are.
But let's see.
I'm wearing 4 cameras on my face, and it's scanning my house right now, right? Now, it's not doing anything yet with that. But wait, 5 years from now, these cameras are going to be doing computer vision lookup and doing AR. You're going to be on top of my kid's bed right now, right? Which is right over here. And this is going to be AR, not a completely virtualized world that separates me from the real world, right? This is really a problem for people. This is one of the resistance points I keep hitting. I don't like VR because I need to pay attention to the kids playing Zoom, and right now I'm in VR and I can't even hear them having trouble with their Zoom call or whatever, and that keeps me from using VR during the day usually, right?
Yeah. So
how long does it take to scan the whole house? The answer is 10 minutes. How do they do it? Here's one way. Siri, when you put this headphone on, right, this device that's coming next year, you put it on. Hey, we've left a lot of cool things in your house and in the world. Everything has sound. Everything can, if you touch it, it'll change, right? And by the way, go around and look underneath your bed and open your closet door and open your refrigerator and go around the world, touch things, lift things up, look at them. You're going to be blown away. Well, you just scan your whole house in 10 minutes. And you're going to do it because it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool.
So because spatial audio is such a huge component of AR, VR, what do you think then? Is the first AR device from Apple already here?
Sort of. We're actually in something like Unity right now, if I remember right? Alt space VR. The polygons that we're seeing here, the images are all polygons in Unity. And when I talked to the Unity people, they said, Unity already works this way. This little cube over here on this desk has a speaker on it, and it can talk to us. And it has a virtualized microphone. In the Apple headphones, there's 9 microphones, right, listening to you. So if I'm talking to that thing, it's going to know I'm aiming my voice at that, and I'm looking at it, and I'm gesturing to it, right?
Yeah.
Unity already works this way. If Ollie, who's running camera, talks to us, we're going to hear his audio come from him over there, right? Spatial audio is already here in the Facebook product. It's just the speakers suck in the Facebook product. So you can't really hear it very well unless you put on a pair of good headphones, right? Mm-hmm. Well, Apple's device is going to start with the headphones. And it's going to be badass. The headphones that I just got, the $550 Max headphones, are stunning. Wired Magazine said it's the best wireless headphone out there, period. And so has pretty much everybody else, right? I don't have a better headphone, and I've been showing it to a lot of people. Nobody's heard a better headphone than this one, right? So the world is about to go experiential. That's really what's happening in 2022. today, the experience of being in VR, of going to a music concert, to playing blackjack or some game with people, it's okay. It's pretty cool. I mean, the visuals are pretty cool and the audio works, but it's not stunning. And that's what's coming next year. But what that means is that Apple is going to be able to give us a new experience on top of the real world that's going to be pretty stunning. And that experience is going to require a 3D scan of your house.
Do that. Yeah.
Now, that's a lot of new data. You are going to scan your house. Believe me, my cameras right now are scanning my house and building a 3D model of my house, right? Every time I touch right here, there's a virtual wall, right? That keeps me from going outside the wall and hitting things. How does that work? It had to scan your house to make that work, right?
Exactly.
And it's scanning it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
The computer vision in today's devices is very, very muted, not very advanced. The computer vision I'm seeing in labs right now is stunning. It can look at something like a pillow and know it's a pillow, right?
Exactly.
And Facebook's strategy, if I walk by you in the street in 2025 with Facebook Glass and you were wearing Facebook Glass on, it's going to say, Kavya is your friend. Hey, would you like to play virtual football with her or soccer or, right? Or throw something at her?
You know what I worry about? I worry about the lady in red dress, because somebody's going to plant that and you're not going to want to look away from it. And that's when things start to get interesting.
Aren't you going to pay a great designer to design a virtual costume for you to wear down the street? Absolutely. I will. Yeah. I will. You know, it's going to be Burning Man 24 hours a day. Eventually. 15 years from now, we're in Burning Man 24 hours a day. And how do I know that? Because I hung out at Burning Man, virtual Burning Man, with the people who run Burning Man. They said, that's what we're going to do. They said, in fact, we want you in 5 years to bring these devices to the real Burning Man and see the virtual Burning Man and the real Burning Man at the same time.
So, Robert, now I really intentionally want to ask you about this book that you've been talking about, some senior tweets, and you even said that you can write the book and dedicate some stuff to XRSI. Are you still changing your mind or not, or what's going on with the book and when to expect that?
Oh, you mean the book coming out? The book coming out is about 2022, which really is about 2030, but all this new stuff is about to start in 2022, right? Tesla Cybertruck is coming, which is going to have better cameras and better sensors and better AI in it. And we're going to get full self-driving with this truck next year. And Apple's coming out with this new AR, VR device, and we can talk a little bit more about that. And there's a lot of other things coming. Magic Leap is coming. Microsoft is coming with a new HoloLens next year. All sorts of new devices are going to start raining out of the sky once Apple comes in. Apple actually is really good for everybody, including Facebook, because Apple's going to explain this new world to everybody, right? You're going to be a poor kid in Mumbai and you're going to hear about the Apple device, right? That's Apple's real secret sauce. Next year is all this new stuff coming out. And so I'm writing a science fiction book about what this means. What does the self-driving car do to the neighborhood? What does a VR, AR device do to culture, to humanity, to neighborhood? And so I'm still working on it. I don't want to talk too much about it because it changes every day in my head as I write it, right? So we should talk offline and then talk about it probably around June, because my aim is to have this thing written by June. So,
yeah,
or at least
mostly. Yeah, all that you said makes me want to ask you that one last question that we ask all of our guests. And that is related to the name of this show, Singularity. And why we ask it is because, as the name suggests, Singularity Watch, we really want to try to comprehend where we are headed. When is there going to be, first of all, what is singularity to you? And then when is this point of singularity?
We should have started out with that. We could talk about that for 2 hours.
Another time. What do you think is singularity, and how far away, or are we there, or what is it going to look like?
The singularity is when I can communicate both with you and with the digital god, the cloud computer, like a Siri or a Alexa, as fast as my human mind can work, which there is a limit. Brian Rommel lists, I forget how many bits per second our human mind actually works at, but it's a finite amount. It's not unlimited. But when I can actually hook up to Alexa or Google and send it what I'm thinking and have it send back what the answer, that's when I think we're going to be in the singularity. And we're not that far away from it. We're somewhere between 2 and 20 years, right? 50, let's call it 15 years from now, I think we're going to be having people jacked in at some level at that range with something like what Elon Musk is doing with Neuralink. And these glasses, the reason that Facebook and Apple are spending tens of billions of dollars on these devices is they know they need the data to get there, because they need to understand how our human mind works so that they can hook sensors into our mind, either outside our skin, or even Neuralink is actually surgery and they put wires on your brain, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I'm going to sign up for that unless I need it. Like if I have Parkinson's or something like that, I'll sign up for that, right? But the cost of it is too high right now, and the side effects are too high, and the utility is not there, right? If you have Parkinson's, you're already signing up for it. They actually put a single wire into your brain to keep your hands from shaking, right? You can go to YouTube and look at this. People who have Parkinson's, they get this surgery done. It costs $150,000, and it has a lot of side effects because you're cutting through brain tissue to put the probe in the right place, the wire in the right place. But if your hands are shaking like this and you can't even feed yourself, you sign up for that. And you're just like, I'm in. And it does solve the problem. Your hands become very steady when you turn on electrodes in your brain, right? It's just that's one wire. And it costs $150,000 and it only does one thing. Well, what happens if there's 1,000 wires? What happens if there's 10,000 wires? Then you start seeing the singularity. And we're some decades away from that, right? 10, 20, 30. But we're going to get, after we get AR glasses, so around 2030, we're going to use the data that we collected off of all of our eyes and off our voice and off our gestures and off our worlds to really understand how to hook in sensors to our brain. And we're going to start that process. So you're going to see a lot of brain devices after the AR stuff comes. And I'm already seeing them. I already have a device with a bunch of sensors that sits on the back of my head that lets me do things just by thinking about them. And it's pretty interesting to do that. Right?
Thank you. And thank you for this remarkable, very candid and super insightful things that we may not even hear outside of some closed rooms. So thank you for being this, bringing all this knowledge, your experience, and enlightening all of our viewers and audience. So it seems I'm going to scan my house as soon as these next gen HMDs will come out. And what about you, Ollie?
I'd love to say I shall never do that, but you know how that goes, right? The point is, who's going to use this load of information that they amass from users, and to what ends will they use that? That's sort of something we need to know, wouldn't you say?
Sure. And let me just add that we should also always ask ourselves, why? Why are we doing something, and why some company is asking us to do something like that?
Mm-hmm. I'm also curious to see if his forecasts will be correct. He kind of said 2030 is the moment we can expect to be using that data that we collected, eyes, voice, gestures, and brainwaves. So you guys listening and watching the show, what do you think? Does this scenario sound like something you could imagine or expect happening?
We should definitely have him as a guest again in season 2, that's for sure, and see what happens in the meantime.
Yes, deal. In the meantime, you can find us on readyhacker1.com, on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and on all the main podcast platforms. And thanks to Marco, Tim, David, and Crystal for making this show possible. Happy journeys to all of you.
Happy and safe journey.